Boom. Okay. We're live still. That's a great thing. I'm super grateful for that. We're alive, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be talking and riffing on the process of what does the future look like and how do we build to prepare for what's coming instead of just maybe what we would like to go back to. I've seen a lot of talk on the internet recently of like, oh, we're going back to normal. And I have a very hard time seeing how that might be the case. I think this is the perfect time to start addressing for the future that is most likely coming instead of the one that we were on a path to have before this pandemic started. It's going to get us out of the denial phase of how crazy some of this might be over the next year or two, and considering the pandemics are nothing new, we might see these again in the future. So how do we start to mitigate and build a society that's more robust and less fragile to these shock on the system? So my main point for a lot of this right now is put roots in the ground. Whether you have a yard or not, if you can start growing things, food, production of any kind, build a greenhouse so that you can store things, start canning food, not because you have to, but because it should just be a good practice to know, right? As a bear, the arcane bear, people always ask me, why not a bull over the bear? It's like, well, the bears are such a beautiful animal. They knew to stock up for these long seasons of difficult temperatures and difficult times trying to get food when there isn't a whole lot of it around. And because of this particular, let's call it like a philosophical concept that the bear represented, it was the perfect emblem of what I thought was important as an individual, which is to get ready for, not for difficult times or hard times. Like, don't just prepare for everything to be amazing. And what I want to do now is prepare for the fact that I think what we need to do next is take the logical steps forward to progress as a species instead of trying to deal with getting ourselves back to where we were. I don't think that's smart. We were over-consuming, we were overproducing, we were poisoning our own water, our own air, and through a myriad of other ways, our own minds, through the content that we are consuming of people just being in one beautiful superficial place right after the other, instead of dropping into the depth of what being is. So as we move forward, the second key point that I think is extremely important is purpose and, you can call it product, produce, service. Service is probably the best one, has the most flavor-filled spiritual connotations. So if you take growing, planting roots, right? And then production and service to others, there's this beautiful harmony when you start to ask yourselves the question, well, what can I do for my community? What can I do for, first off yourself. You got to make sure you're taken care of too, right? And that's what part of this is going to be about. I don't think the effects of this pandemic are going to be seen entirely from the disease standpoint. This is going to be an economic wave that most people are not expecting. I can already feel it. People that are not going to work, I can't imagine what people in India would be doing, not being able to the system has stopped. For the first time in like 70, 80, 100 years, everything's pretty much stopped. People are staying in, cars aren't driving as much, planes aren't flying as much, submarines, well, who knows, there's probably military, they're probably moving equally as much, but irrelevant point. Our normal way of life has at least slowed down. And there's a lot of important things we need to take into account, that we were living needing too much nonsense, too much garbage. And this is going to help, I think, rebalance what is valuable in each of our lives. So starting to get prepared for what's coming is going to be absolutely essential. Because if we keep trying to build back into where we were, I don't think this story bodes well. We need to find something that works more synergistically or symbiotically with not just the earth, but one another. And I think these moments where we're all under the same type of stressor, the same duress, and the same conflict with a virus that's changing, we've never seen it before, it's evolving in front of our eyes, it's really, instead of causing all this division, these are great moments to find out how you can be helpful. I've messaged the Ministry of Health of Costa Rica. I tried helping other people send messages back and forth to doctors, trying to help other people arrange PPE gear for their local medical staff. And that's made me feel good, right? I think this is what these times are for. Find out what we can do to plant our roots, and then learn how to be productive and in service to one another. Anyways, it's just my quick rant tonight. We didn't even change a spot. I'm just going to upload it that. 2 things you can do to prepare for the future after the economic collapse. This is Tea with the Arcane Bear. Give us those thumbs up if you like this content. Smash that like button away while you do it. Leave your comments, your thoughts, or questions down below. I will do my best to answer them, and usually just thank you guys for all your supportive comments. I'm working on refining the direction and the content of the show so that we can bring in more podcast guests and leave my rants, I think, a little clearer of some of the things I don't know a whole lot about, because there's a shit ton I don't know a lot about. But there are a lot of great people, a lot of very smart people that have way more education and practice, more importantly, fucking practice in those fields than I do, and I would love to get back to having conversations with them. So we're going to be reigniting the podcast, and we'll be going from there. This is Tea with the Arcane Bear, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again on the other side.